Hello critters, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm doing another art challenge, which I think is fun. I want to do more of these, so leave suggestions as to what kind of art challenges I should do. I'm not really sure, I'm just kind of doing oldies but goodies right now. Today I'm doing a right hand versus left hand challenge, which I know is kind of like that's a very basic one, but I think it's pretty fun, and I struggled, but yeah, here we go, let's get into it. So if you don't know, I'm right-handed. I I'm doing a voiceover over this instead of doing a pre-recorded voice thing, and so if I'm a little out of it, that's why, but I'll try to do my best. But yeah, basically I'm right-handed, and my whole life I was always kind of spited by this. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but when I was little, like kids would always be like, "Oh, if you're left-handed, that means you're more creative." And my ass, I was like 12, and I was so mad about that. I was like, "I'm right-handed, and I can be creative," because like I was an artist. I am an artist. But yeah, that was a little vendetta I had when I was a child, which is it's kind of funny. I don't know. I like to poke at my left-handed friends about that sometimes, but anyways, yeah, in the background here you can see doing my right-handed bit. It's my usual methods. Right now I'm doing line art and kind of just speeding through it a little bit. And I wasn't really sure what to do for the pose. That's why I did so many sketch layers. Usually I only do like one or two sketch layers before I do line art, because if I do more sketch layers, it usually turns out more stiff than if I do like one or two, because of like thinking too hard about it, I guess. But on this, I ended up doing three sketch layers because I wasn't sure what to do for the pose. So yeah, I'm doing my line art now, and yeah, I wasn't really sure how to draw the hand. It's okay though, because I do draw hands kind of like I have a weird way of drawing hands. I don't want to like hide behind the it's my art style, but like it kind of is. I like drawing hands kind of lanky and funky looking, because you can make hands very expressive, and I like to use that a lot in my art. And yeah, here's my flat coloring going in. Whenever I do whites, I like to do or like light colors, I like to do a dark color first to make sure I'm getting all the gaps, and then I go in and I just kind of fill it in. I don't know. I use the fill bucket to fill in my flat colors. And here's my shading. And just the usual. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do an overall multiply layer, because I thought that'd be easier for my left-handed bit, because sometimes on like my webtoon I do like a whole multiply layer over the entire top instead of doing each layer individually, which takes a lot less time and is a lot less work. But also I was like, I don't want to skip out on trying to do this challenge right. I didn't want to try and make it easy for myself, which is, in the long run, it made it a lot more difficult. But I wanted to try really hard. Okay, I wanted to like actually try on the left-handed bits, so that's why I kind of did my usual methods of rendering and shit on my right-handed bit. And it's not like fully rendered, of course, or anything. It's just like my basic kind of shading that I do for most illustrations. But as you can see, yeah, this is my right-handed bit, and here we go into my sketch for my left-handed bit. And as you can see, it's very shaky. The whole time I was doing this, like when I started out, I was like, holy shit, I was like, people who do this challenge are absolutely lying about doing it, because I swear to God, I was like, this is so much more difficult than it looks. But I mean, as I started doing it more, I kind of started getting the hang of it a little bit, I guess. But yeah, it was it was rough. It also took me three sketch layers, which mean a little more valid for my left-handed side, because I wanted to make sure it was at least a little coherent before I tried to line art, because my hands are shaky enough as it is, and I did turn the stabilization up a little bit on my left-handed side, which I know is a little bit of cheating, but I usually have it up pretty high anyways. Well, it depends on how I'm feeling, but I have really shaky hands because of my meds, so I'm like, it's a time, but you know how it is. But yeah, my stabilization up a little bit, but even then it turned out kind of chicken scratchy, and I really had to focus on making sure the lines were closed when I was actually doing the liner, which you'll see in a bit. Here's my third sketch, and it's kind of me trying to make it so that it's ready for line art, which it was never really ready for line art. It's a time, but I was trying to make it as close to what I'd be doing for line art as possible, because that's usually what I do in my last sketch anyways, is I try to make it so that it's clean enough that the line art is basically just going over it and making sure everything is closed and like adding the dynamic bits and shit. But yeah, it's really difficult to do with my left hand. And yeah, as you can see, I was struggling a lot on kind of just like the shapes, I guess, and trying to draw straight lines, because again, I have really shaky hands, especially my left hand when I try to draw with my left hand or write with my left hand. So especially drawing like anatomy, it's hard enough as it is to like make your shapes make sense, because anatomy is, I'm sure everyone knows those videos where when you draw anatomy you have to start out with like shapes and shit, and yeah, it's hard to draw anatomy when you can't draw shapes because your hand is shaking and you're drawing with your non-dominant hand. But that was a fun time. But anyways, going to the line art here, as you can see, one of my main things that I noticed that's really difficult about drawing with your non-dominant hand is, I think, just a lack of strength in it is hard, because I couldn't do any kind of pen pressure shit. Like, the pen pressure, as you can see, it's basically all just the same line width, you know, and also it's just like, it's not pressed down hard enough. I use like a pen brush, as you can see on the left side. It says sketchy pen brush. I just knocked my microphone, I'm so sorry. But it says sketchy pen brush, and that's the brush that I normally use for line art, and it's like nearly opaque. It's a pretty dark pen, but it's not fully opaque unless you press down, and I really like how it looks. It looks kind of sketchy when I don't press down all the way, and like some of the line art can be a little sketchy and transparent, which I think looks pretty cool. But with this, it just ended up that like a lot of the line art here wasn't fully opaque, and so I was struggling a lot with that. And like with the hair, it was a little more fine because I can be a little more like loosey-goosey and free with the hair, but it was still difficult, and trying to get like the line details. I wanted to still add details to the hair. Again, I didn't really want to skimp out on the details and shit when it came to my left-handed bit, because like, you know, it's a challenge. I wanted to try and challenge myself, so I was trying to do everything that I was doing with the right-handed bit, because I wanted to try and do the challenge right. And so I was adding all the clothing wrinkles, I was adding all the hairlines and shit, and it I tried my best. And as I was getting this far, I was noticing a little bit. I was like, oh, this is off. I was noticing a bit that I think I made the head a little too small, and I was like, I gotta move some things around. So yeah, I started moving few things around, and that's not cheating, I promise. I do that a lot in my main art anyways, but yeah, it was rough, and especially in the first place, when I was first drawing the pose on the right hand bit, I was like, I want to hide the hand behind the hair, because that was kind of the pose that I had going, but I was like, no, I need to challenge myself, so I'm going to draw a hand with my left hand, and yeah. And again, as I said before, I do like kind of drawing hands a little more like lanky and janky as like a means of showing expressiveness. And so I could kind of lean on that a bit when I was doing this part, because I don't think it looks too bad in terms of being too far from what I usually do with hands, or it's kind of like I draw the segments and kind of just like make them all lanky and shit, but yeah, it was rough. Anyways, into coloring, I did my usual methods where I kind of fill it in. I use a fill bucket and doing the same thing basically, and I was making sure I didn't miss any gaps, but for the most part, coloring in the flats wasn't too hard. It was kind of just annoying because, again, like shakiness, especially with like the more intricate bits, like the eyes, as you can see, it took me a minute to try and get it so that like the eye whites weren't overflowing. And yeah, for the most part, the fill bucket helped a lot, but any bit where I had to freehand it, I was like, I am going to actually die. But anyways, so yeah, here's more of my flats, and this character, Risa, she doesn't have many colors, which is nice. I'm glad I chose a character with a less complicated design, because I don't know what I would have done if I would have had to freehand things and do a bunch of shit, so yeah. Yeah, here's a little detail on the tie. It's a little jank, but it's fine. And here I go in with my shading, and to be fair, the shading also wasn't that difficult because I usually use a blending tool for the most part to kind of blend it out and airbrush it and shit, so it wasn't like really intricate details. Like, and I think the most difficult part of this was the line art, but the shading got a little annoying sometimes because of like you could see the little like scrunkles of when my hand would shake while I was trying to draw like the edge of a shading bit, and it's you know I was able to kind of fix it with the eraser and some other things, but in general, and I eventually started using the fill bucket a little more with the shading because I sometimes do that anyways when I do like larger portions, and the fill bucket really helped a lot with this bit because like I as you can see when I'm trying to actually color with my left hand, like freehand color, you can see when I'm doing like the skirt and the hair in a bit too, is that it's really difficult, especially with the pen pressure, because again I use like I don't use like a very opaque brush. I use like a gouache brush that I found randomly for basically everything that I do. So when I was trying to freehand color shit, it was a lot trying to get it to like actually be opaque and not just look like scribbles, but then again the blending that I used came in and kind of saved me some bits. And you'll see that in a little bit too, with the hair especially. I was having issues, but then I ended up kind of just blending it out a shit ton, and it's kind of a vibe, like it's, I don't know. I sometimes do that anyways when I'm just kind of being lazy about shading hair and other things. I'll just like blend the hell out of it and be like, oh, look, texture, but I, you know how it goes. And then I added in like my usual details of like adding a little bit of the light around the face and some multiply layers and shit, trying to go in a little fancy, which is fine because that's mostly just kind of airbrushing, which is fine doing it with my left hand, so whatever. Anyways, yeah, moving on a little bit. Here's the bit that I was talking about with the skirt and how I was trying to like use the brush to color in bits, but the pen pressure was not picking up my pen, like was not picking up the pressure of my left hand at all because my left hand is weak as hell. So I was having some issues there, but yeah. And just wrapping it up, that's about adding the little square there. It's finished. It ended up turning out better than I thought it was going to in the end, which I mean, like, I guess it still looks very jank, but I think the coloring kind of saves it. It's like the overall worst part was the line art and like the original sketching, but I think it was fun. Anyways, let me know what you think. If y'all have tried this challenge before, let me know how it went. Yeah, there you go. Leave me down below. I can't talk right now. Oh my god. Leave down below any other like challenge ideas that you'd like to see me do, because I'm not really sure what to do. But yeah, if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I'll see y'all in the next video. So bye.